Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tally and these are my two rabbits. This is Maurice, although we never call him Maurice. We call him Boop or Snoot or I don't know, any variation of name. So you will never hear him called Maurice in this video. That is his formal name for when he is misbehaving. I've had him for about 3 years now, and for about 1.5 years of that time he was an only bun. And this is Fern. We adopted her from a rescue centre in February 2019. We don't know how old she is because she's a rescue, but we know she is fully grown. And we got her with the intention of bonding her with Boop. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that the bonding process was not very smooth for us. It took us a long time. So I thought in this video I would take you through the first 2 attempts that were unsuccessful and what we did and why I think they were unsuccessful. And then the 3rd attempt, which was successful, I'll tell you exactly what we did step by step. So if you are wanting to bond rabbits, maybe you can learn from our mistakes and hopefully it will be a bit smoother for you. This video is a long time in the making, so there are clips of me talking from a long time ago. So I'll put those in where they're relevant to the story and what happened. So I'd watched all of the videos about bonding, I'd read all of the blog articles, and I thought I had a pretty good idea of how to do this and how this would work. Today I'm gonna start bonding the rabbits. This is Fern and she has got a little bald patch on the back of her neck because she had a little infection that like where her injection was when she got spayed. So that is just healing up. So she's had her antibiotics and everything, so it's all healed. We're just waiting for the scab to drop off and for her fur to grow back. So don't be alarmed, she does have a bald patch, it's fine. So we got Fern just under 3 weeks ago and she was spayed just before we got her. So it's been about 3 weeks. So all her wound is all healed up and all her hormones have died down. So the first attempt at bonding, we started with them in cages right next to each other so they could get used to each other's smell. So they both like had a bit of food. Fern just doesn't care at all. Boop's a bit more relaxed now. We did this a couple of times and we also tried getting them to eat next to each other, which was quite a big deal because Boop does not, like, he's very fussy about eating and he does not eat when he's nervous. So that was a really good sign that he would eat next to Fern with a gate between them. We then had a little go at stress bonding, and there are loads of different ways of stress bonding that I've seen. People like shaking the cage with them in, people like putting them on top of a washing machine or like driving them around. But we had a go at putting them in the bath because it's a slippery surface, so it is stressful for them. So the first time we put them in the bath together, we just put them next to each other and we were stroking them the whole time. I think they were in there for about 15 minutes. Then we let them free range in the bath so they could hop about, do what they want. There was towels in the bath to stop them like slipping too much and hurting themselves, but it was still a stressful experience. So the idea is that because they're stressed, they'll like cuddle together and comfort each other and will take their mind off the stress of the bonding. So we slowly started to increase the time that they were in the bath together, and me or my partner Adam were right next to them the whole time with a dustpan and brush ready to intervene if there was any fights. And we made sure we ended all the bonding sessions on a positive note by putting them next to each other and giving them lots of strokes in the hope that they'd remember the positive experience of the bonding rather than the fights they had. We also tried the trick where you put a bit of banana on their head in the hope that they will eat the banana off each other's heads and end up grooming each other to try and fast track the process. But it wasn't that successful for us. Did she get her own bit banana?
Yeah, she just got her own bit of banana.
Oh, bless her.
You're the clever one, aren't you, Blue?
This is the first time we were kind of getting a sense of who might be dominant between the two. And this pair of bunnies is probably like no other pair of bunnies that have bonded. There was no humping at all throughout the whole time, and there's still no humping now, and they've been bonded for like 1 year. So we don't really know who is dominant out of the two, but we do know that Fern is super chill, super relaxed, and that Boop is a nervous wreck. Fern's actually fallen asleep. You can tell because her nose isn't going. She's so chill. Oh, you're cleaning yourself, Bubble. Oh, very good. You still got some banana on your head from yesterday, huh? So we got them to the stage where they were in the bath for an hour together with no serious fights. So then we made a small enclosure for them in the hallway, which was neutral territory for both of them. And we increased the time they were together to up to about 2.5 hours. Boop started to get really interested in the bald patch on the back of Fern's neck and would sometimes try and lick it and groom it, and sometimes she would bat him out the way and fight him off, sometimes she would let him. And at this stage we also saw a lot of one of them putting their head down for the other to groom and vice versa, they were both doing it. And later we found out that this is a sign of them trying to establish dominance. If they put their head down underneath the other asking to be groomed, then that's them being dominant because they're asking the other rabbit to groom them. And that was the annoying thing, that they were both doing this to each other. They couldn't decide who would be dominant. I don't know if they didn't know what to do or if they were just being stubborn, but it was very frustrating to watch, and we were just egging them on from the sideline trying to get them to groom each other. I feel like if one of them just put their head down and the other groomed them and they decided who would be dominant at this stage, then this whole process would have been a lot quicker. But sometimes Boop would lick Fern's head, sometimes he would put his head down and she wouldn't lick him, and they just couldn't decide. We then increased the space so they had the whole hallway, and we were also increasing the time they were together incrementally. So we are moving on from the hallway. We've been doing this for about 2 weeks, them bonding in the hallway a couple of hours at a time, up to like 5 hours I think was the longest we did it. And we are now moving on to an overnight bond, a bunny sleepover. And our choices were to either do it in the hallway, where they have been, where's she gone, for the last 2 weeks, and put like a bit of cage across the bedroom doorway so we could sleep in the bedroom, still hear what was going on in here. But they get really agitated by the gate being in there. We've had it before, like where we've tried to not be in the hallway with them, supervising them, and just had the gate up, but they just get agitated by the gate. So I think what we're going to do instead is, while they are in the hallway, I am going to deep clean the kitchen, living room where Boop has been living, to try and get rid of his smell as much as possible. Then we're going to move them into the kitchen living room, see how they are in there, and if they're all right in there together, then we'll do an overnight in there and I'll sleep on the sofa. So they'll just have the whole room, which, fingers crossed, will be all right. They've been fine together. There's still been some fights and some like little nips, but I don't know if that's them getting bored and like getting on top of each other.
Oh, hello, Fern. Oh, Maurice is freaking out.
Like, this was my room. Why is it changed? Hey, come on, Poo-Poo.
Come on, Poo-Poo.
So not only have I done a deep clean, I've also moved the furniture around because he used to love going behind the sofa. That's what he's trying to do now, I think. It was his favourite place. But I thought they could kind of get into fights behind the sofa and we wouldn't be able to get them out. So this is what I've used to clean the room. Like, it's a spray bottle, but I also put some in the mop bucket and diluted it a bit to clean the floor and to completely clean out Boop's cage, because this is gonna kind of be a shared cage now. They're sharing the space. I'm so happy for them. So I stayed with them all last night and I got up, I think it was like 7 or 8 times, mostly towards the beginning of the night. They had some like quite big fights. We've just noticed a little cut on the back of Fern's neck, like a little wound. So we've got some antiseptic from when she had the infection, so we're gonna use that and keep an eye on her. But we think we're gonna separate them now, like for the rest of the day, and try later and just see what happens. Boop had like taken territory over the cage, which to be fair, it was his before, even though I completely cleaned it. So even if she goes near the cage, then he's not happy, and she has been charging at him just from the other side of the room for no apparent reason. So that first attempt, what went wrong, I think, was that we rushed it. We increased the space too quickly before increasing the time in the space. And we were kind of in a hurry as well because we were going on holiday, so we weren't just letting the bunnies do it in their own time. We were like trying to speed things along, which backfired. Also, I think it was a bad idea that we left Boop's cage in the kitchen when we let them both in there, because he had that cage as his space for years. So even though I really cleaned it, it probably still smelled like him, and he kind of had territory over that cage. Also, I'm not sure how effective the stress bonding in the bath was. It was good in that it was a small space for them because of the sides of the bath, but I'm not sure how effective the slippy surface idea was. So we started the second attempt not long after the first attempt, when all of their wounds had healed. And we started this time by splitting the whole kitchen in half with like a makeshift cage gate thing, so that they still had a lot of space to run around, but they had half of the kitchen each, so they could still smell each other and still see each other, but they weren't going to be able to get each other. We went on holiday at this point, so our neighbours were coming in to look after them, and so they had a long time, maybe 3 weeks, in that divided room situation. Lots of territorial pooping all along the boundary. None on his side. This is all you. You're the territorial one. The fur on the back of her neck is growing back a little bit, still a little bit patchy, but she's looking much better, and like all of her wounds have healed. So we're just gonna take it easy for now and not try and like push it until after we're back, because in May we have more free time and we're gonna try again. Then we started the shorter bonding sessions in the hallway again, but in the whole hallway this time, because I thought they'd had the small space, so we didn't need to go right back to the beginning, which was a mistake. So they've been out in the hallway all morning while I've been sorting out the room. So I've set up a corner of the room. I think that was where we went wrong last time, that we gave them too much space all at once. So we've got the corner of the room set up so they can get used to each other there, and then we'll expand the space as they kind of get used to each other. And we're going to try some stress bonding as well. We're going to put them both in their new carrier, so it's a neutral space as well. Hopefully just being in the carrier will be stressful for them and they'll like cuddle each other, and then we'll put them into the new space. You know, Adam will walk around with the carrier while I'm setting up the new space and putting their hay and everything in it. And then we're going to stay with them all day, and then hopefully if that goes well, then tonight we can try an overnight bond with them again. Fingers crossed. How are you doing, babies? Is that a very stressful experience? Are you cuddling? They actually are.
I don't know if they're cuddling, they're just trying to get out.
They've been together now. Oh, good yawn, Bubble. For about 13.5 hours. We've had a couple of big fights, but as you could see just then, they were just chilling next to each other. And the majority of the time, they are ignoring each other, which is ideal. So hopefully the overnight bond will go well. Good morning. They've done it. I did wake up quite a few times in the night with them, but there was quite long gaps between their fights, so that was okay. I've just given them their breakfast, and Boop isn't eating his. His is over there, which is not good because Fern eats very quickly. So when she's finished, she's going to want to have a bit of his, which might cause a fight. We'll stay with them again today. I'm still not comfortable leaving them alone for, you know, going out, but I might go and sit in the other room and like listen out rather than being in here the whole day. It's been a day and a half now, and they've stopped with all the like manic territorial peeing and pooing. So I've given them the rugs back, and Fern immediately tipped all the hay onto the rugs. I've been doing a lot of cleaning in there. We were thinking this, like whether taking away the territorial poops would make them do it more or like freak them out, or whether it would let them know that this is like a neutral space for both of them. So we've been taking them away also because it was getting kind of gross in there. We left them alone for a couple of minutes when we went to take the bins out, and they were absolutely fine. They haven't really had a fight for the last few hours, touch wood, and when they have kind of been confronting each other, they've been kind of sorting it out themselves. Like one of them will charge at the other or like snort at the other, and then the other will just walk away, or you know, one of them will come and approach the other in a litter tray and the other will just hop out. So that's good. They're not besties, but at least they are cohabiting at the moment. Little relaxed bubbles. But then that evening they just kind of snapped, and like they would not stop going for each other. Like we'd separate them and they just keep going for each other. So we decided to separate them and call off this bonding session. Good morning. We're not doing so great today. They have just been non-stop fighting, and yeah, they've just been at each other. The only way they'll not is if I sit in between them. There's Fern. Where are you going, baby? Where are you going? Yes, that's the camera. Are you vlogging? Are you vlogging, baby? Yeah, so I've just sat in the room with them. I'm in work this afternoon, so I'm going to put them back in the cages. They just keep fighting, and I've been injured. I didn't have time to grab the dustpan and brush to break up the fight, so Fern bit me. She didn't mean to. They fight with their eyes closed, so my hand just got in the way. But it bloody hurt. And we made another split cage setup for them so that they were next to each other but not in the same enclosure together. So Fern's in here. Boop is in the bedroom having a little run around at the moment, just get some exercise. This is the current cage setup. I don't know how many versions of like enclosure setup we've had, but this is the current one. I'm kind of in the middle of cleaning it at the moment. So this bit completely closes. I'm just demonstrating, baby. And what we did do right, I think, at this point was that in the separate enclosures, we were swapping them every 24 hours with the dirty litter tray still there, so they were not getting attached to the space or attached to their litter trays or anything like that.
We're going to split the kitchen again. So while we're away, the neighbours are coming to feed them, but it means they've got more room to run about in and get some exercise. This is the finished setup. This cage thing, literally a lifesaver. Last time we kind of fashioned a barrier out of like bits of their other cages and like bits of wood and stuff. This is so much easier. I will link this down below if you're interested. It's been amazing.
So what went wrong with this attempt, I think, again, we rushed it, and again, we were increasing the space before we increased the time. So at this point we were pretty frustrated, and we thought maybe they're just not going to get on and they're just not meant to be friends and we should just quit and stop stressing them out. So we had a phone consultation with a charity called Beloved Rabbits. They also run a service where you can take the rabbits in and they will be bonded for you, and then you bring them back and they're bonded, and I've seen a lot of places that do this. But although it would have been good to have that neutral territory of the rescue and have the experts around to watch them all the time, I didn't want to stress them out by like taking them to a whole new place. I don't know, I thought that would just be too much for them. And then I thought when we brought them home again that they would just, like, the bond would break because they'd be in these spaces again. So we had a phone consultation with one of the bonding experts, and they suggested using Pet Remedy, which is a herbal calming spray. And they also suggested starting much smaller than we had been and getting it to a point where they were overnight in that small enclosure and then increasing the space. So the third attempt, this was like 2 months after the second attempt. We had quite a big break where they were just in their split cage and they living next to each other for about 2 months. So we started the bonding sessions again in a really small enclosure in the hall, and we sprayed Pet Remedy everywhere, and we got the plug-in infuser as well, so it stank of Pet Remedy.
And we tried putting the banana on their head again with a little bit more success, but they were still both putting their head down to be groomed and couldn't decide who would be dominant.
And then we got to maybe 2 hours in that enclosure, and we did increase the space a bit so that we could fit litter trays in there and some hay and water and everything in there. And then we stuck with that size for quite a long time.
So over the next 2 weeks-ish, we incrementally increased the time until they were together for about 9 or 10 hours at a time, and then we decided to try for another overnight.
And we did this when there was a bank holiday and Adam had some holidays, and we basically had 5 days where we could stay at home with them the whole time. So we did the first overnight in that small enclosure in the hallway, went okay, had to get up a couple of times.
I think they've cracked it. I'm so proud of you babies. So it's been about 24 hours and they haven't fought once. So today we're going to try and move them into the kitchen, which is where they're going to live. So we're going to do a proper disinfect of the kitchen, move this whole enclosure in there, same space, and then, oh, yawny baby, and then overnight in the kitchen.
This is when we first noticed Fern licking everything, especially her litter tray and the floor, and she still does this a year later. I don't know if this is a territorial thing or if it's just her being a strange bunny, but she just likes to lick everything.
Oh.
And for the second night, we were sleeping on the sofa, so we were right there. The third night, we slept in our bedroom, but we kept all the doors open so we could still hear if anything happened, and we were ready to like jump up and intervene if there was any fights overnight. And at that point, they hadn't been fighting like at all. There hadn't really been any grooming, but they would lie together and be relaxed in the space together and eat together. So at this point, we were comfortable leaving them unattended for a little while. So like I went out for an hour and then came back to check on them. I was working part-time at this point, so I was doing shorter shifts, which was quite good because that meant that we could slowly leave them for half a day, maybe leave them for a little bit longer before like full days alone together. And then we really slowly, really gradually increased the space that they had together, so increasing the enclosure by a little bit every couple of days. Happily ever after. Fingers crossed. They've been bonded for almost a year now and they are so cute together. They groom each other all the time and they are like attached at the hip. They are completely platonic though. There has been no humping and we still don't know who's the dominant one because it kind of varies day by day, but they are adorable together and they are so happy together. So what worked about this final attempt that did work? Maybe the pet remedy might have helped calm them when they were, especially in those initial really stressful bonding sessions that they were fighting a lot. And I think the biggest thing was having them in the really small enclosure, getting to a point where we were happy with them overnight in that small enclosure and then increasing the space. And really we just gave them the time that they needed and didn't rush it. So I really hope I've remembered everything to be able to tell you exactly what we did. I pretty much filmed every single bonding session and there were a lot of them, so there's a lot of footage to go through, which is why I have been putting off making this. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the comments below. I am no expert, but I could maybe make some suggestions or tell you a bit more about what worked for us and what didn't work for us. Every bunny is different, every bunny pair is different, every family is different, so what works for you in your home and your lifestyle might be completely different to what works for me. I really hope you found this video useful. If you have, you can drop me a like to let me know. And if you're new here, maybe you'll consider subscribing to my channel. I make videos every week and they range from vlogs, which include a lot of the rabbits, motivation, productivity and lifestyle videos, as well as travel videos. So if any of that sounds like up your street, then you can check out some of my other videos and hit that subscribe and bell button so you get notified when I upload. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck with your bonding. I really hope it goes well and I will see you hopefully in my next video. Bye.